I'm sorry, Andrew Weissman, but if I recall correctly, in 2018, you were one of the people who helped write the Mueller report, and you all botched the hell out of that.
And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be here. I thought we were better as a country.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these sites that have been around for creating videos and all that, like text stock videos, they're done.
But that's why Canva was one of the first to get into doing AI.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner and 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And our team since 2020 has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on October 19th, and in the Toronto area where I'm based, the leaves are beginning to change color. You got the orange and the red and the brown leaves, and it's nice when you're like driving on the highway and you see a lot of trees, and it's so pretty, but that tells you winter is coming. Winter is coming. But today we got up to about 65 degrees here in Toronto, and I think until this Wednesday we're gonna have a nice streak of sunny, no rain, nice weather. And I did the dreaded thing. I actually went downtown today for a conference on prostate cancer in Black men. And again, Black men, especially if you're over 40, please get the PSA test. Enough said there. But you know what? I'm really jacked up because it's been a while. There's a song by Led Zeppelin, been a long time, been a long time, been a long, lonely. I've been lonely without these two ladies. It's prime time Saturday with Aisha LaLa. I had to get some musical inflection there, you know. What's going on?
Oh, it's life. Yeah,
Life
doesn't mean it's bad, but it's still life. So sometimes you just have to keep marching forward.
Keep on moving. Don't stop. Keep on moving. Was that Soul to Soul with Karen Wheeler?
Yes, there's such a beautiful story about that song too.
What's the story behind it? Please do tell.
Well, she was really going through some things, and came from a life lesson for her. She was really going through some hardcore things, and out of that, she just kind of woke up one morning with that song in her head and just ran with it, and it became the hit that it is, and a positive hit. You know, I know people don't like to talk about don't worry, get happy, but sometimes we need things like that just to continue to push us forward. Even when we're in the darkness, you just need to hear that someone else has gone through it and to just keep pressing forward. So she came out with that story recently, and it's really done her well, served her well.
Nice. Miss Staggers, what's been going on? Have not seen you in a minute. You're on mute.
Oh, yeah. Life's been lifing. Well.
Okay. How's your daughter?
My daughter's fine. She went to Six Flags in Massachusetts is closing. They're closing that park. So she and her friends went up there this today to spend the day and ride rides, because she hasn't been there since she was middle school.
Wow.
So that's what she did today.
So when was the last time either one of you were at an amusement park?
When I took my daughter that time.
Okay. What about you? Look at Lala. I wish if you're listening to this, you have to watch.
You know what? Actually, I take it back. The last time I went was 2015, because I was working at a school as a communications director, and they took the kids, and I had to go and chaperone.
I can't remember.
Wow.
I really can't remember. I do remember the very last time where I actually looked at my husband and said, yeah, we're done. My son used to work for Six Flags in Denver, and it was family day or whatever. So we worked, and I'm a roller coaster lover, but there was something about that wooden roller coaster that time that was just too much, that we both got off and was like, yeah, I think that's done now. So it's been a while.
No, I don't know the last time I was on a roller coaster. That is like so
2015, and
long ago.
that was my last time. 2015, and that was my last time. The whole time I sat in the roller coaster. I didn't see anything that happened. I just closed my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of
Oh.
heights. It's why I don't fly well. So, me on a roller coaster, I just sat there, closed my eyes, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And I only did it because the kids asked me.
And that was
Well,
it. Yeah.
the
No.
closest thing I can remember about roller coasters is the
Six
song by
Flags.
Ohio Players, "Love Roller Coaster."
Oh my God, I love that song. We
I
just
love
got
that
to
song too.
popping that this week.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what? It's so funny. In the 90s, there used to be this gas commercial. And there was this lady with this red hair and this beehive and all these gadgets and things on her. And then in the back of her car, she had all this stuff in her car. And in the back of her car, she had a bobblehead. And the song played Love Roller Coaster. And the bobblehead was,
oh my! I wonder if you could see that commercial on
You
on
probably
YouTube.
can find it on YouTube. You can find
you
everything on
probably
YouTube.
can.
This is true. This is true. Well, let's say hello to the family. Hey, there are a lot of people checking us out today. Lala says, "Show your stars or send your stars to show's report." Good stuff.
Always
Aisha,
stream on my page.
says, "Hi everyone.
Mhm.
Thanks for joining us." Aisha says, Jen Myers, primetime #1. She says, "Hello everyone." Regina says, "I haven't seen this up in weeks. Thought it was canceled." What? We ain't
No,
canceled.
no.
No.
Our schedules, Lala and I just, our schedules on Saturdays and Dr. Vibe, our schedules just didn't mesh.
Yeah, like I had to go to a funeral a few weeks ago. Aisha had a computer glitch last week.
Yeah.
Lala had some personal family stuff. So that's why replays. Instant replay. Dan Hartman, by the way. Wigmaniac says, hello. Actually, Wigmaniac, you've got one of our conversation topics happening tonight. Regina's already in the political heat. By the way, tons of Republicans I know voted for Harris Walls. Yes. Jen also says, doing well, Dr. Vibe. Glad that you're doing well. And Regina says, I am good and glad everyone is back on site. Well, we are glad to hear that.
Yeah.
We are glad to hear that because it's been at least 2 weeks since all you have been together. 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
we had
it's been a minute.
Yeah, last week we had a repeat, and the week before that we had, and big ups to Dr. Tachi for coming in for a few weeks. She was on fire as per usual. And Dr.
She held
Tachi,
it down. Thank you.
and whether you're watching live or on replay, Doctor, you always have a space here. So whenever you want to come on, no problem. So let's talk about Primetime Side with Aisha LaLa Patreon. There's the link. That's the girlfriend's chat. Also, the store. The link is there. In a few minutes, I'll be posting this in the comments section on most of the platforms that you're watching. Join our Discord group. Email me, dr.vibe at the vibe@SHOW.com. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Hello. And hit the notification button. And like also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Actually, I passed 1,570 subscribers. Nothing close to Dr. Taji's platform. But, I'm just taking it steady. And advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm a part of. Email me, dr.vibe at the vibe@SHOW.com. So we have a lot to catch up on, ladies. Have you been keeping a tune on the poly tricks that's going on in your country? Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's start off. This happened just this week. Kamala Harris's interview on Fox.
Baby.
Oh,
Baby.
Baby.
I swear, when I say I love her. Okay, because she's quick, she's smart, she knows how to answer people, and she knows how to call out the bullshit, and she does that very well. She does not hold back on it.
Yeah, it was necessary because that clip, and I'm glad that all the news media went after him about that, to the point that he was like, oh yeah, they pulled the wrong clip. No, they didn't. You just thought that you were going to get away with some shiggity diggity. Okay. You thought you were going to get away with it. And what happened was she was ready. She was ready. She was well prepped. And here's the thing. Kamala Harris was not going to go on Fox without being ready. That's why she did it on her time. not theirs.
That's right.
Trump, on the other hand, does not prepare for anything. So he can't go into spaces like an MSNBC, like a CNN, that without a friendly audience there. Because
That's right.
he
Because
doesn't
he
know
can't
how
do
to.
well on his own. He doesn't do well on his own. He has to have that audience energy.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is that he doesn't know policy. He doesn't know policy. And so he can't have a policy talk or conversation because he doesn't know any. We saw that with the Univision
Oh my
town hall
Lord,
that he did.
the best.
When the
This
guy
was
asked about
not
January
good.
6th, let me tell you something. I actually wrote a story on Medium that Trump was there with the bullshit, and the Latinos were not having it. They were not having it.
They were not. They were
We're-
not.
So let me ask, in comparison, Ms. Harris's appearance on Fox versus 45's on Univision, big differences?
Huge difference.
Very big.
Because
Very
they
big.
held him accountable. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like they held him accountable with the way he was coming up with the lies, their body language, the way they were looking at him, the way they were asking questions. They made him face them. And
Yep.
he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that. His lies did not stand tall. They were
Right.
not dealing with it. They knew that he was calling them out. And just the looks on every last one of their faces was disdain for what
Right.
this man was even being in the room.
Because the
So
thing is, they know that when they went in that room, when he walked in the room, first of all, he thought that they were all migrants or immigrants.
yes,
No, he didn't think any of them were citizens. That's the first thing. And then
that's right.
thinking that they're migrants, he's thinking that they're all coming from south of the border. When you got Cubans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, South Americans, and South America is big and has different countries in and of itself. Then you have the Caribbean. They're not a monolith any more than Black people are. But he tried to treat them like they were. He tried to treat them like they were, and he went in there thinking, well, Latinos are very conservative, so their religion. Guess what? They've been in this country. They've been in this country long enough, like Black folks have, to know what the deal is. They know a white supremacist when they see one, just like all the narratives about Black men. They know a white supremacist when they see one too.
Exactly.
Were
I think it was very much needed. And to be honest, I really feel like he's being forced to go to these spaces, because if he had his own way, he would never go into these places in the first place. But he's got someone who continues to push him, saying, "But you got to," or somebody with money who's trying to get ready to donate, or saying that he has to. He's not only insulted them, he's insulted the people who are automotive workers. They've called him out for his bullshit that he did this week. And honestly, I'm at this point now where I'm thinking, is he even trying now? I mean, honestly,
Chris
crazy.
Hayes did a whole segment on that, on the fact that he really isn't trying at this point. Think about it this way. This man has been running for president for 2 years. At this point in the stretch, you would think that he'd be like, okay, we're just 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out, we just gotta make it. He basically gave up, and when you knew he gave up was when he stopped taking questions at that rally and just danced for 39 minutes.
Oh my God, that was the weirdest thing. That was so strange. He's not well. And which, by the way, there is a billboard. I can't remember. I posted it on my page. There is a billboard. I don't know if it's in Pennsylvania or somewhere, and they have his scowling face, and it says, "He is not well."
Nope.
And it's so powerful. That billboard is very powerful. That's all it says. He is not well.
I just want to pause for this conversation for a second to recognize that both Lala and I are wearing the Savage Fenty jumpsuits.
And they aren't paying them to do that, by the way. I'm just sitting back and listening.
No,
All
they're on sale they were on sale for $25 recently, and they're usually $100 each.
Yeah, it's time for me to get some more too.
Okay.
Yep, I had to get some new ones. Okay, so that aside, now that we said that and we recognize,
Thank you for that.
but Kamala Harris going on Fox shows that she's out there trying to win every vote. Trump, he's showing that he wants to steal the election again. Why? How do we know this? When he went on Fox and Friends yesterday, he said to the audience he was going to go have a meeting with Rupert Murdoch right after his interview with them, and tell him over the next 14 days to not show any negative ads against him. What?
Right. Right.
You think Fox is going to turn down money when they got to pay almost $1 billion?
Exactly.
They're not turning down anybody's money. Campaign money's good money.
He's the craziness of him just saying these things. I mean, just those are things you're supposed to keep behind closed doors, bro. But you just
he's letting it all out. Like what he said about education. He said he wants to close the Department of Education, and then not give money to schools if they try to teach history where slaves built this country and on stolen land. So in other words, you don't want people to tell the truth, to teach the truth. You all want to rewrite history the same way you're trying to rewrite civil rights movement online and edit those signs with AI. I got them in the book.
Well, so were either of you concerned for Ms. Harris appearing on Fox?
No.
I knew she could handle herself.
Her showing up anywhere. She can show up at a KKK rally and still hold it down. She's good.
She's a prosecutor. She's a prosecutor. She's gone up against tough judges, tough juries before. She knows how to handle herself. And here's the other thing too.
She knows she's up against a cult.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. People forget she ran an election. She's run more elections than Donald Trump has. She's got this. What you need to be concerned about, what people need to be concerned about, is Donald Trump winning. Because as much as he's in a decline, the one person who's not in a decline is J.D. Vance. And remember, J.D. Vance was put there by the people behind the Federalist Papers. Those are also the people who wrote Project 2025. J.D. Vance wrote the foreword. Okay? He wrote the foreword. So
Jedi Mind Tricks didn't have nothing to do with that.
know that 1 hour after the inauguration, if Trump were to win, J.D. Vance is calling in that 25th Amendment.
Yes, he is.
Best believe. They've got plans of how to get Project 2025 in if Trump wins.
Well, let's catch up on some comments. Hello, April Watson. Hey, from Tampa, still shaking from Milton. Yo.
Oh, boy. I hope you and your family are okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody, please. Oh, my gosh. And please don't listen to those talking points. My goodness. FEMA is there to help.
Yeah, Wig Maniac says she's good. Good to hear. Regina says, my summation of Harris on Fox, Brett, quote, yes, ma'am. He got schooled by the queen. Regina says, wait, he interrupted the Fox host to say that nonsense too? They just stared at him. He's off the res for sure. I think he had a stroke, TBH. Also says that Ms. Harris is great with hecklers too. Doesn't break a sweat. Regina
like
said,
when she told them, you need to go. I think you were supposed to be at the other rally. You're at the wrong rally. You need to be at the smaller one down the street.
Wow.
You know that hurt Trump's feelings real to his core, just as much as it hurt his feelings to find out that she got nearly 8 million viewers on the same day he did a Fox town hall, same network, and he only got 2.9. Because he's all about the ratings.
Yeah, but it looks like from what he's gaining though. He's caught some ground according to a lot of these polls.
Depends on which poll. Depends on which
Oh,
polls. Because here's the
yeah.
thing. Let's be very clear. Here's the thing about the polls. You always have to ask them for their raw data and their demographic data. Because what you find out, the polls where he's gaining, and this is what has also been reported. The polls where he's gaining, they have oversampled. That was actually an issue that came out this week. A slew of polls showed him gaining, and there was the problem with the polls is that there's an oversampling of white men and an oversampling of Republicans.
Mhm.
And that is
There's
the problem. If you decide you're going to poll 100 people, and 70 of those people are men and they're Republican, well, of course it's going to look like he's gaining because you got a 70% to a 30% differential because the people that you sampled were that. And then what they say is that he's gained from July to here. The people, more people decide. That doesn't work either. And I'm going to tell you this about social science and sampling and testing and all this stuff. Data can be manipulated. And here's the thing. If they really want to show a change, they would have taken the same group of people, equal across the board, asked them when she first got into the race, who they were leaning toward, then ask that same group of people, now, how are they still leaning? And that would be a better representative example of how people's votes actually are going. When they just pull out 100 people anywhere, and then most of the people that they're doing are Republican. And remember, when they poll these people, the majority of these people that they're polling are over 60 because they have landline phones. They're not
Right.
asking, unless they directly go to young people in person and poll them, they're not polling young people because they don't have landlines. They're not even polling people our age.
No.
They're not polling 50-year-olds because we got rid of our phones a long time ago. We only got cell phones.
You and I had a landline.
What, 90s?
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
you gotta remember, these are the people that they're polling, and that sample of people that they are polling tend to be more conservative. So that's why it looks that way. But I bet you if they were, look at it this way, if they were to take a room full of Black people, poll 100 Black people, equal men and equal women, what do you think they're gonna find? They're gonna find 100, almost 100%, 98 to 100% of those Black women, and they're gonna find about 89% of those Black men voting for Harris, right? So this is why it's ridiculous to think, Trump's gaining ground on Black men. In order for him to really gain ground on Black men, on her, he would have to get at least 51% or even 47%. He's still under 20.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near gaining ground on her. That's why they say gaining ground with Black men as opposed to gaining ground with Black men over Harris. Because that would be the lie.
All right, let's just stop for a second to catch up on some comments. Regina says, how is your family doing, April? Wigmaniac says the right wing is claiming she was responding to a guy saying, quote, Christ is king, unquote, and quote, Jesus is Lord, unquote. Seriously. Hey, what is up, free will? Hope you're doing okay. Also, Regina says he's behind in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I just heard a panel of Republicans. Arizona is voting for Harris. Good to hear all is well, free will. Good to hear. And says, thank you, sir. Right back at you. Regina says 25% of Americans have landlines and only 20% still use them.
Right.
Regina says Charlemagne encouraged a lot of Black men to not like the Democrat, hate the Democrat Party. We're going to get to that in just a moment in regards to the Black men piece. But yeah, it seems that this race is very, very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
No, we knew that it was going to be, because you have a lot of closeted bigots out there, and that's what you never know. There are many of those that don't speak; they're quiet.
Yeah,
They're still quiet. The race is going to be very, very close.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think what we're going to find out is that it actually wasn't as close as we thought it was. It's close. Here's what makes it close now. Because these are things that we know. We know Trump has 47%. We know Kamala Harris definitely has 47%. What we're waiting to see is what that other percentage that's not included there. It's that 6%, right? That's what we're waiting to see, where that 6% breaks out. Because that 6% will tell us who really wins.
It's going to be interesting. We got Cinema Canella says, hello, good to have you. Free Will says, hello, April, I forgot your handle. Respect given. Regina says, women are going to make Harris win. And who's in the house? Dr. Tachi, good evening all. What is up, Dr. Tachi? And Free Will says 6% listening. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's going to be really, really, as I said, interesting to see what happens. So wherever you're watching this now, make sure night of election you're here, because we're going to have a boatload of people making commentary on what's going on with the election. So let's go into our next conversation topic that was previously mentioned by a viewer. Her plan, Ms. Harris's plan for Black men, and this has got a lot of push and pull. Who wants to start on this?
I'll let Aisha start.
Yeah, I will. I read the plan. Here's some context. This wasn't a plan that she just came up with in response to people's being upset about Barack Obama, and that's a whole different conversation, because I really think that if you were upset by what he said, then you're the misogynist he's talking about. But also, he wasn't condescending. He was talking to actual people, working in campaign workers and how they need to engage. But apart from that, there's nothing in there that actually wasn't on her list of things as a VP she wanted the party to do, and things that were on her list of things that she had been advocating for when she was in the Senate. The problem is that there just wasn't the control of the House to get it at any time when she was pushing for these things. So, and they just didn't have the votes. So those are the people you need to really look at for those things are the Tim Scotts, the Byron Donalds, the Manchin, Cinema in the Senate. Those people are the reason why you didn't get those things. But the plan is not new. Nothing in the plan is really new. It's that she's going to be in better footing to actually get them done. Beyond that, what you also have is this conversation with Charlemagne. Okay. I was pleasantly surprised. You all know how I feel about Charlemagne. I call him Kermit. I think he looks like Kermit the Frog, and he can be a royal asshole at times. I think somebody like Angela Rye, Tiffany, what's her name? Tiffany Cross, somebody pulled him aside and said to him, this is how you need to handle an interview with the vice president, someone in her position. You can ask questions, but dude, you're going to have to address the fact that you're going to have to undo a lot of damage, because you've put out a lot of misinformation and disinformation about her. And that was my fear with that interview. I had more fears with that interview than I had with the Fox interview, because I knew Charlemagne had been putting out disinformation and misinformation about her for years. And the fact that he had to humble himself, I was pleasantly surprised. But the other thing too is that I think, was it for her to make inroads? No, I think it was for her to say, this is who I am. These are the things that have been said about me, and this is what the truth is in this. Especially when it came to the part about her record of, she, we talked about this before. She incarcerated thousands and tens of thousands of Black men. You know where that came from? That came from Donald Trump. Because the real record on her case is that there were 1,900 people who, were actually tried on marijuana offenses and drug offenses. We don't know the race of all those people. What we do know is that only 45 of them went to prison because she did prison diversion programs. 45 of them went to prison. And we don't know the races of all those. So these assumptions, here's my thing. The Black men I know and care about are smarter than this, and they're not going to fall for anybody's okey doke. They know the difference between a capable Black woman and a white supremacist. And they're not going to vote for the white supremacist. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump is pulling out these random Black people who I don't know who they are. I don't know who Trick Trick is. He brought this rapper up, Trick Trick, in Detroit. Who this woman?
He's getting paid. You know darn well he's getting paid, and he also wants some kind of recognition for being up there.
Right. He thinks it's going to bring him money. And I got to say this. There's not one Black person who has done anything with Trump, Omarosa, all these people who have made one single dime. When he drops you, he drops you. Dime and dime. Where's Silk? We haven't seen Silk on the campaign trail, have we? Because she served her purpose in 2020. You know who else we haven't seen? We haven't seen Herschel Walker. You know why? Because he didn't win. He served his purpose. This is what he thinks of Black people. You know what? Tim Scott, hissing and licking his boots. Who has not been on the campaign trail for him? Tim Scott. Who did he pass over for vice president? So, and granted, Tim Scott actually has more experience than even Donald Trump because he was in the House and then he was in the Senate. And then he had been in like state politics. He chose J.D. Vance, someone who's only been in politics for 2 years, in the Senate for 2 years, and prior to that had no political experience, no governing experience. So let's be very, very clear here. The idea that that Black men are not going to do this, it's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. She's got them at 87%, 88% now. It is beyond ridiculous. And the reason that we have this false narrative, it's coming from white people, specifically white men. And it's coming from white men because they don't want to be the ones to get blamed should Donald Trump win, because they are overwhelmingly voting for Donald Trump. You can't say you have the majority in numbers and then when your majority does something that people don't like, not take accountability for it.
No.
You can't have it both ways.
Most of the people who are complaining about this, let's face it, they haven't even bothered to read it. So if you don't mind, I'm going to summarize just short because it is big, but I broke it down and I made it short. So number one, wealth building. Harris plans to provide 1 million forgivable loans to Black entrepreneurs and reduce barriers to starting businesses. 2, job creations. She advocates for mentorship programs, job training, and apprenticeships that help Black men secure well-paying jobs. 3, health equity. Her National Health Equity Initiative will address health challenges like diabetes and prostate cancer that disproportionately affect Black men. 4, digital assets. Protection for Black men investing in cryptocurrency and other digital assets is a priority to ensure they benefit from financial innovations. 5, criminal justice reform. Harris supports legalizing marijuana and ensures Black men benefit from this industry while also pushing for police reforms. 6, this one I love. Her plan aims to significantly increase the number of Black homeowners through down payment assistance and addressing appraisal biases, which I am experiencing right now as we speak in one of my deals. Number 7, teacher recruitment. She will support Black men in becoming teachers through partnerships with HBCUs and mentorship programs. 8, internet access. Her administration will restore programs that provide affordable internet access to Black families, helping to close the digital divide. And we all know that is huge right now. 9, medical debt relief. Policies will be put into place to relieve Black families from crippling medical debt and prevent it from affecting their credit scores. And 10, voting rights. Harris pledges to protect, the voting rights of Black Americans by fighting against voter suppression and supporting voting right legislation. So there it is in a nutshell. If you need to go and check and dig into it some more, go read it. It's on our website. But let's also make this plain. It's not just for Black men, because everybody keeps thinking that you can just segment a group. You can't do that. Overall, we are Americans. But
it's actually unconstitutional.
That's right. And
remember what happened to the Freedom Fund. The Freedom Fund lost their ability to give grants to Black women for their Black women program because they challenged it and said it was unconstitutional. It was inherently biased. And here's the thing. Not even if this benefits, it's going to benefit everybody, period. But even if it was just for Black people, what in the hell makes you think that Congress is going to pass a bill that specifically says Black people?
Exactly.
Because you can best here's the thing, you can best believe if Democrats get control of the House and retain the Senate, and that in all those bills specifically said Black, you can best believe in 2026 they're losing the House and they're losing the Senate, because those MAGA folks and just regular white people and all the other groups that would feel like they were being ignored would vote in ways that would change the dynamics of the Congress, period. And here's the other thing. I gotta say this.
You can't do it.
And I gotta say this. Here's the thing. Asking you shall receive. Yes. It's good that people ask for these things. However, stop being duplicitous and one-sided. Ask that other fool what his plan for Black people is. Ask that other fool what his plan for Black men is. Because you're not saying it. And also, I just want to make this comment, because the New York Post has been running these comments, and a lot of papers are running these comments, because for some reason, someone dragged Lord Jamar of Brand Nubian out of the 90s and brought him into 2024, where he could have stayed there. It is ridiculous to me that they're doing this. Dude, you have not spoken out about politics in any way in the last 30 years. And to quote you, I've seen your kind before. You're not original, just a sick mixed up individual. Go somewhere, sit down, be quiet. And people do not fall for this. But I'm also glad that they're digging up people that nobody knows, because everywhere I go, Black people are like, who that? Especially young people. Look, we might know who Brand Nubian is because we're of a certain age. My daughter does not. I can guarantee you. Unless she's heard me listen to them, and it's a very rare occasion, because I don't like him, but I do like Grand Pooba. And let me tell you, look, Grand Pooba made Brand Nubian.
All right. Let me catch up on some comments here. As usual, they're flying in. Dr. Tachi has some laugh emojis. Also, Regina says, Charlemagne drives me nuts. He needs to stick to music. He repeats so much misinformation. Remember the first time he interviewed Jasmine Crockett, SMH. Then he switched gears.
Charlemagne was also accused of sexual assault, but that's a whole different show.
Free Will says,
Dr. He's such a snake.
Okay.
He's a snake.
Okay. Dr. Tachi, Free Will says, Dr. Tachi jokes on us. Dr. Tachi says, exactly. Yet these so-called Black folks are too daft to see that they're political pawns. Regina says, by the way, the Univision Town Hall had people who were non-English speakers who were waiting for the translations, so there was a delay. Free Will says, Harris is going to be the next POTUS, mark my words. Dr. Tachi says, hey there to Regina.
There might have been a delay with the Univision one, but the people that understood him, they said it all with their faces.
Sure did.
All right.
What is the meme this week of the man like? That's been all over the place. Like
that, and the woman that when he said Ashley Babbitt died, no one died. What? Wait. Huh?
Regina says, so glad you're here, Dr. Tachi. So then my question is, why was this plan released now? Some pundits said, well, Kamala's having a challenge with the Black people, so she had to release something because she was having.
Well, here's the thing. Charlemagne did say just and he did say, because she said this isn't new. She said, I've actually had this plan. The thing is that these things she has said many of these things in different ways before. People just weren't listening, and they basically just wanted it packaged up for Black people. But like Charlemagne said in that interview, and I do give him credit for this one thing, is like he said, I know this wasn't timed with this. He said, I know you've been working on it for a long time, way prior to this. And that you've been pushing behind the scenes. Because here's the thing, she has been pushing a lot of the things behind the scenes, but we have to remember what the job of the vice president is. And I'm sorry, but JB Vance, before you run for a job, you should probably know what the duties and responsibilities are, because you keep saying Kamala Harris didn't do this, Kamala Harris didn't do that. You won't be able to do it either. The vice president's main job, they've got two main roles, two main constitutional roles. One, to break ties in the Senate, because they are the president of the Senate. Two, if the president cannot fulfill their duties for any reason, the vice president is tasked with stepping in. Those are the first two things that the Constitution says are their responsibilities. What kills me is that people say, oh, this and this and this, but no one ever thinks about this. You know what? Do you ever say, why didn't my lieutenant governor do X, Y, and Z? Because essentially they are like the vice president of your state. They break ties in the state Senate. And they are there in case your governor cannot serve out their term.
It's such a joke. I just can't believe we're here. I mean, it's like, I'll be so glad when this is over.
I hope that the media does us a favor this time. When he loses, be done.
Please be done.
Because think about it this way. We have been going for that man lost 4 years ago. And every day for 4 years, he has been in the news. Barack Obama, you didn't see Barack Obama like this the whole 4 years Trump was president. You didn't. Why are we seeing this? And the thing is, I wrote this article because, you should follow me on Medium. I've been writing article after article after article. But this, they know that this man is profitable. Ask Maggie Haberman. She's won awards writing on him. Ask Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward knew some things about Trump. Knew some things that voters probably should have known earlier this year. He held it back for a book. He knew these things 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
He held it back for a book that came out last week. 3 weeks before an election. It is sick. Media has a really codependent relationship with Donald Trump and his antics, and we got to break the fever.
All right, so Regina says, yep, the 25th Amendment. Every time I hear people saying Harris needed to do this or that as VP, I cringe. And also, Dr. Chachi says, at Free Will Indeed, Charlemagne speaks way too much about things he doesn't know.
Charlemagne just speaks way too much.
Oh, ouch.
Kermit needs to, every now and then, Kermit needs to sip some tea.
Oh my gosh. Oh God. Good evening to Ryan Singh. What is up? Good to have you on the Facebook.
Hi, Ryan.
What is up? And so want to shout out Stephanie Michelle liking the conversation on Facebook. That is good. So let me ask, how critical is the Black male vote to Ms. Harris's presidential campaign and presidential office?
Every vote is critical. I don't think that is how we need to look at it. Every vote, all across the board, needs to be seen as their powerful voice. So yes, you're going to have haters all across the board. It doesn't matter what demographic they are. Mm-hmm. So I just don't. I think that question is one that is we need to kind of let that ride. We need to make sure that everybody does vote.
Yeah, and I have we do have pockets of people that say, "Oh, I'm voting third party." What third party? Because you have to remember, the majority of those third parties did not get on the ballot. You have to get on the ballot. You know,
Right.
like some black man said, "I'm not voting for her." Well, and they're like, "Are you voting for Trump?" No, I'm voting for Cornel West. Cornel West only got on the ballot in Virginia and maybe one other state.
Did he get on those two?
Yeah, and you got to remember the money that was used to do that was paid for by a Russian organization that has ties to Donald Trump's campaign. They did it, and basically he's an agent for Trump. They did it to siphon off votes from Harris so Trump could win in those areas.
That's the whole game plan.
That's the whole game. And guess what? Cornel West is a willing he's a willing party to it. The fact that he accepted their help tells me that he's a misogynist. But I also thought that there was some misogyny with him anyway. And you got to remember, he's still bitter with the Democratic Party, specifically Obama, because he didn't get that ticket to that ball that he wanted. He got a ticket to an inaugural ball. Cool. He didn't get tickets to all of them because he was trying to flex in front of his 26-year-old girlfriend at the time. Talk about he had it and in. Yep. People talk in DC. People talk. So yeah, there's that. And here's the other thing. I saw a panel on MSNBC the other day of Palestinian Americans who none of them, they all said they were not voting for Kamala Harris. You have one person who said she was two people who said they were voting for Trump. One saying, I felt much safer under Trump. And the reporter, who's Palestinian, said, you do remember the Trump Muslim bans. He said, yeah, Trump said he was going to do it. She said he's going to do it again. He said, yeah, he said he was going to do it before, but he didn't really do it. Yeah, the hell he did. But also, too, there were two people that sat there and said that they were just going to write in someone. And I understand because they had issues with the policies. I understand that. And I get that. But I'm also torn as a Black person in this country because you doing that to save you, cool. Then why is it that we have to work, Black women specifically, we have to work harder? That means we have to work harder to get people, all other people, to turn out, because we know that we will suffer the most because you decided to write in something, and if it makes a difference in your area and flips the vote and Trump wins, we suffer the most.
We literally just said that we are so close that every vote counts. We are so close. Now is not the time to play. These is no play games.
Yeah, because you're not just playing with yourself. You're not just playing with yourself. You're playing with everybody's well-being. And here's the thing. If we have to get it the worst, we don't forget. We do not forget. If we get it the worst, we don't forget. We organize. And you can best believe we will make sure the next time what you do does not matter. It was very hurtful to me because I'm like, here's the thing. I understand that. I understand exactly where you're coming from. And you don't like how Biden Harris has handled things with Israel and the war. What do you think Trump's going to do if he wins? Yeah, because the thing is, you say yourself, there's no hope for the person that you're going to write in to win. So it's
ridiculous.
You know what? Our vote is our own. Protest vote all you want, but just know that
consequences.
There are consequences, and the consequences aren't only just on you. Because here's the thing: if a whole white supremacist wins, we all suffer. We all suffer because that Project 2025, they're coming for the people of color first. And that includes you.
Oh,
All
and
right.
by the way, KRS-One, who the other old school rappers
Chuck
did a
Chuck
whole
D,
rap.
Chuck D,
Yes,
KRS-One, and oh God, who else was it? Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. It was great.
So
I saw you sent that to us. It was great.
all right.
And
So
they did it in hoping to encourage Black men to vote. They didn't say which way to vote, but to actually just get out and do it.
all right, let's catch up on some comments here. Dr. Tati says, right, the VP is not president. She also says to free will indeed. Top, we already got that comment. We got the 25th Amendment. So free will says it's so much deeper than than candidates. I guess so. Regina says Woodward gets on my last nerve. Free will says love your show, Dr. Vibe. I love it. Thank you so much. Regina says Cornel West did what? Wow. Dr. Tati says Cornel West. I need people to think his academic career is winding down, so he's trying to stay relevant.
Yep.
Dr. Tachi also says we always do the expected to take up the mantle for every group, and unfortunately, we always do. And then Free Will, Dr. Tachi, she says true.
Yeah, I'm still wondering why he left. Was it Harvard or Princeton, wherever he was, for this religious college that he's now at? But you know.
All right. Anything you want to add, Lala, before we go to break?
Vote. Vote. That's all I gotta say. Black men, don't let those MAGA white men try to blame you.
All right.
Because that's who's doing this.
Okay, let's go to break, and when we come back, 45 lost a little legal momentum. So we'll be back in just a moment. Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa. Join Aisha K. Staggers and Laura LaLa Key as they cut through the chaos and make some sense of the nonsense in American news and politics.
That's not a big enough sample to even say that this is representative of anything.
Sharp insights, bold opinions, and a touch of humor. It's the show that keeps you informed and entertained.
Those polls have you thinking, oh, I don't need to go there.
Don't miss Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. Tune in and stay ahead of the headlines. We are back. Primetime Saturday. Aisha K and LaLa are back after a few weeks. And you see what happens when they come back? Fire. Burn up the place. They burn up the place. All right, let's continue on. I think we do have another comment here. I think we're good. We're caught up. All right, let's take a look at this comment. Federal judge rejects 45's bid to delay release of special counsel documents in his 2020 election subversion case.
Yep, I gotta get my notes because I did start to read the treasure trove of documents that was released.
No problem.
His lawyer tried to prevent it, and Tanya Chutkin said no. Basically, no. Now I did read.
No.
I did go through and start reading them. They're very heavily redacted, but what we see here, on the things that you can read, this is the evidence that he's going to be presenting to Judge Chutkin. And the one thing that stuck out to me was this one particular part where they talked about how Trump tried to get the Arizona legislature to throw out or to rule out Biden's win. And just basically say that it was invalid. There was that. Then there was the part where he kept wanting to say that there were 60,000 people who were illegal and or dead who voted, and to go into court. He kept trying to pressure his attorneys to go to court on this, present this. And the attorney is the one whose testimony I was reading. And he said, I kept telling him, I need actual proof. Do they have proof? Do they have documentation? I need actual proof. I can't just go into court and say, hey, 60,000 illegals and dead people voted, and that to be something a judge is going to stand for. A judge is not going to stand for that. So what you find is that he tried everything: fake electors, getting legislatures to turn over votes, getting secretaries of state to quote unquote find votes in court. This is why he lost all the court cases. Trump actually, when this particular attorney wouldn't do it, that's when he sent Rudy Giuliani in, and Rudy Giuliani would go in and be like, well, 60,000 dead people and illegals voted. And there is a transcript from one of those cases where the judge asks Rudy, where's the proof? And Rudy's like, well, we know it happened. I don't have proof that it happened, but we know it happened. And then the other thing, like, for example, they tried the things with the Dominion voting machines the last time. That's also part of this. And what you're finding now, guess who's been talking about the Dominion voting machines, and specifically Arizona, and was in Arizona talking about it? Elon Musk. They're setting the stage already. And here's the thing. Donald Trump said the election was rigged when he won. Why? Because he didn't win the popular vote. So all of this is what's in those things. And we have to watch out with this election, because he's not bright, and he's a creature of habit. And the same way he says things all over and over and over again, he also does things over and over and over again. So all the things that he tried before, he's going to try again. He's going to try again.
He's got a whole playbook plan. He's already got it all. He's telling you what he's going to do.
Right.
And he's
And not only does he have,
that if he loses, he's only going to lose because they cheated.
Right. And here's the whole thing. If you read Project 2025, they tell you how they're going to take the election away.
They
tell you at least how they're going to try. They tell you this. And everything that's in there is what Donald Trump is laying the groundwork for. And so this whole thing about these documents, the reason he didn't want them to come out is, like, you know how Kamala Harris said, can you believe they put that thing in writing on Project 2025? All the stuff that he tried before is in writing now. And if you can get past the redacted parts, you can piece together as an American citizen what he tried to do, and that he's going to try again. Already people are early voting, and he has people who are at the polls reporting what these people are, how people look, how many people look. Oh, this person was Black going in, and they're wearing this and this. Because guess what? Remember what they did to Rudy Freeman and Shay Moss? They're planning to do this to regular voters. They are planning. Not only are they planning to do it to regular voters, but they're also. It's like voting. Voting should be the least complicated thing in this country. It should be the least complicated thing. It actually, you know what? Of our things of rights, people talk about freedom of speech is the First Amendment, and then the second is right to bear arms. Honestly, freedom of speech should be first, and the Second Amendment should be the right to vote for everyone, because your vote is what helps you to keep that freedom of speech. And the bottom line is that not just our right, these rights are in jeopardy. He also, in here, you find that he tried to silence people in his campaign, people that worked for him, not even in his campaign, people that worked for him from testifying. Like Cassidy Hutchinson even said that they gave her an attorney that told her not to say anything.
Yeah.
As if it was in her best interest, and she had to think about it and realized they weren't in her best. They weren't working for what was in her best interest. They were working for what was in his. And right, which they are. And so remember this: he can't send Rudy to court to do all those things for him. this time.
No.
But you know who's on his team that he hands in? His vice presidential candidate is a lawyer.
Okay.
And guess what? And although it would be but guess what? You can always represent yourself in court. You have that right. And so here's the other part of it. He has an interest. He has a vested interest in making sure. You know, JD Vance, he might act like a fool, and you know, I know every time he says something stupid, and it's like, why is he there? Ron DeSantis is like, it could have been me. But because if you need somebody to jack up a campaign, I could have done it. But JD Vance cleans up well, as we saw in the debate.
Yeah.
He talks more measured and rational, as we saw in the debate. And so he's not going to sound or look crazy the way Rudy Giuliani did. And how do we know this will work with JD Vance? Because the next day, after the debate, and we all watched that vice presidential debate.
Sure did.
You had Democratic white women talking about, oh, they could see what his wife saw in him. And I'm sorry, y'all scare me. Y'all scare me. Y'all scare me. You're 55%. Y'all scare me. So that's what was in those documents. I'm still reading through them because
it's a lot.
It was 4 volumes.
I couldn't do it.
They were like, it was like well over 2,000 pages. No, I'm sorry, well over 2,000 documents. And some of the documents have multiple pages.
Yeah.
Actually, all the documents have multiple pages. So a lot of it's redacted,
it's
but
a
yeah.
hard read. I mean, you got life going on, but you know, when you really are trying to pay attention to this will suck up hours and hours and hours of your time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, here's what's so frustrating, because it seems when we talk about this all the time, there's so many things that we have to stay on top of that it's hard to stay on top of all of them. Period. Because he's got so much garbage going on. All these court cases, all these things that he's putting into place, all these assassination attempts, all these, all these things that are coming out are just too much to keep up with. Now you have the producers of The Apprentice coming out and saying, we sorry, y'all. They literally said, we created a monster.
Yeah.
What
they said
you saw is not how it is.
Yeah. They're like, he's not a good businessman. He kept running his businesses. They were like, when you went into his offices, it had all this old, gold lame and black lacquer furniture and broken down stuff that they had to do a whole clean sweep of things and build a set in Trump Tower.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
They built a set to make it look like it was an office.
Yeah. And here's the thing about these special counsel documents and why you need to go read them and why they are so important. Because one, if he wins, they won't be available. Because remember, this is the case. This case is the reason, because Eileen Cannon already did what she did, but this case is the reason he is running for president. Remember, they did the Eileen Cannon thing, but then this one came. This one came first. This case is why he's running for president in the first place. Because if he's president, he gets to squash it. And we have to remember this. And this is why I really hope that when Kamala Harris wins, Judge Chutkan says that there can be cameras in the courtroom. Because people need to see this case play out. People need to see the evidence as it is presented. People need to hear the witnesses in their own voices say what they did. And then they need to question, why isn't he testifying if none of this is true? Because I promise you, he's not going to testify. Just like he said he wanted to testify in the Stormy Daniels trial. He didn't. Oh, and Rachel Maddow on that. No, Rachel Maddow did some reporting on Thursday. Trump tried to pay her off again.
And
Oh
the thing
my
is, with what money? It's all this money, guys. You have to remember.
Wait, no. He tried to pay her off. He tried to pay her off this week.
How?
Well, apparently she owes him. Somebody said that she defamed. He sued her for defaming him or something like that, and so she owed. And so the judge ruled that she owed him $645 or $660,000, something like that. So her attorney went to negotiate the amount and said, how about can we do this for a lump sum payment of $630,000, just $30,000 less, and she can pay you right now. And the communication that went back to her attorney was that they said we can do it for $630,000, but she will have to sign a contract that says she will never ever again mention that she had sex with him.
Oh God!
Publicly.
Why is everything such a deviant thing? He's nasty.
But here's the thing, because it tells you he still thinks this will hurt him in this campaign. Because guess it's already out the back. Wait, you want her to not say anything again? And which that's illegal. So her lawyer said no. And Rachel Maddow had the emails. Her lawyer said no. And they said, okay, $630,000 is fine. He's unserious. He's not serious. He's not a serious person. Okay. And the people that work for him aren't serious either.
Well, some comments here. Free Will says voting isn't easy because they know who it's in the best interest, Aisha.
Yeah.
Regina
Well, here's the thing. If it wasn't such a valuable thing, they wouldn't try to take it away from you.
Regina says, Regina says she owed him $650K. They Then he wanted to make a deal. It is totally believable to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
But guess what? Then they accepted the amount that she said without her making any kind of, without her signing any kind of contract to say anything. So it's like, dude, what was the point? He has bad legal counsel. But the other thing you realize is that his legal counsel, it's not that they're not good attorneys. They let him tell them what to do.
Because they think they're going to gain something. He's not even paying these people.
You know what's going to happen to them? You know what's going to happen to them? Ask Rudy.
There you go, because there's your example. But then again,
Rudy got disbarred in New York and DC. He will never practice law again. Not only that, he owes $148 million to Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, his daughter's voting for Kamala Harris. And said
like you're tickled about these little things.
Spent last week all over the media, because she wrote an article, but spent last week all over the media saying that Trump ruined her father. Her father was already ruined by stop and frisk, but still.
Regina says, my fantasy, one Big Mac too many. Rest in the opposite of heaven. Okay.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm sorry. But hamburgers are not doing the thing that they are meant to do, which is clog an artery. And I'm very disappointed in them. McDonald's, do your job. KFC, do your job.
Okay.
Ketchup, do your job.
Let me. Cinnamon Canella says, what are the chances for Democrats to attain control of the Senate on this election?
They don't have to attain control. They have to maintain.
Yeah. And that's
because remember, Tim Walz would be that tiebreaker.
Yeah.
They have to maintain. It would be nice if they could pick up a seat or two. The race that people are most worried about is Montana, because John Tester, people are, Montana. People go to Montana. He had been, Montana's a red state, but he had been there for years, and people trusted him because he's more of a moderate. But now, the guy that's there is outspending him, and not only that, him and someone in Michigan, I think it's Tammy Duckworth, I'm not sure, but you've got people in these races, Wisconsin, it's Wisconsin, the Wisconsin race. You've got that race and this one. These are people who are plants. They're not people who are like, I believe it's the guy in Montana, the one that, is running against John Tester. He's from Connecticut.
Yeah.
But here's the reason why he's running in Montana as a red person, because he can't win in Connecticut. The last wealthy person that tried to run a Senate race in Connecticut, she tried not once, twice, was the woman who owns the WWE, and she lost both times. McMahon. She lost badly, but she lost badly both times. She couldn't buy a Senate seat in Connecticut. So that's why that guy left. And it's funny because guess who else just moved here threatening to run for the Senate, the Senate against either Chris Murphy or Dick Blumenthal, whoever comes up first. I think it's Blumenthal because Chris is on the ballot this time. Megyn Kelly. When she posted that, I laughed because let me tell you something. The last time Connecticut had a Republican senator, it was like 30 years ago. Something like that. 89, I think. So almost 40 years ago. Girl. If McMahon couldn't win, please.
Yeah. Nice try.
Regina says, Aisha, come on. Why do you think he isn't releasing his physical results? Those arteries are harder than an oak bench.
Well, here's the thing. Paul Sousa, who was the White House photographer under Barack Obama, released a picture of Trump's unblemished ear on Twitter. Elon Musk suspended his account.
Yes, he did, because he's stupid like that.
Peter Sousa. You know why? Because it is unblemished. There's not a scar. There's not there's nothing. You look, if he was actually hit by a bullet, there's gonna be a scar. From an AR-15, dude. First of all, I have seen pictures of wounds. I hate this part about media and working in it, but I've seen pictures of wounds from AR-15s, even just being grazed by them. There is a reason why the Connecticut legislature created a bill after Sandy Hook that those pictures are permanently sealed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would have re-traumatized those parents. What the media reported at the time, those wounds were so devastating. They described them in the media. One of those kids was shot 11 times. A 6-year-old body shot 11 times. And his mother described it. She looked at him and she described it in an interview where she said what part of his jaw was blown off. One of his hands had almost all the fingers except for like one blown off. His body was so bullet riddled. A 6-year-old. And so you think about that. If it can blow off a finger, you mean tell me his grazed ear has nothing?
No,
nothing?
But we all saw what that was. I mean, we know he was going to milk that for all that he was worth, and still does. And the fact that these idiots showed up at his rallies with tampons on their ears, it says a lot about him and who his cult followers are.
Put it this way: any woman that's ever had a C-section, you get a scar after, and that's a cut. It's like if somebody grazes with a bullet, you get a scar. You're gonna get a scar. That's a cut. You like from a C-section scar. I remember mine.
So Regina says Megyn Kelly is one backstabbing sister. And Mignon Cam says, yeah, there would be a hole in his ear.
There'd be a hole in his head.
Wow.
If it grazed his ear past his head, there. Not only that, guess what? They would have had to remove some hair to stitch it. At least here's the thing. Even if it grazed him, there would at least needed to have been a stitch. There's no scar from a stitch. If you've ever had stitches, you scar it first before it fades. It's not going to fade and be perfect this close to that event.
All right.
The power of magic.
All right. Let's go to our next conversation piece. Widow of January 6th officer testifies at rioters sentencing, quote, "My husband died protecting democracy."
Yeah. This is a real sad story. Her husband was a police officer, Capitol police officer. On January 6th, he got so badly injured, and she said, my husband went to work one day, came home a totally different person. It just broke him because he couldn't understand how people could see, him as the enemy. And everything that they did, it was like or how the president could do something, could allow that to happen. And he didn't die from his injuries. He died from his emotional injuries. He committed suicide because it just was that traumatic. And he's one of the, I think it's like four. There's been several officers that have committed suicide as a result of this. One of the things that I did read about in doing research beyond that is that she was one of the people who fought for the Senate to extend the benefits of those people in service, military service or federal police service, beyond their death, because they were going to cut her off of of the medical benefits, all of that. And here's the thing: if January 6th hadn't happened, she said he would have still been working.
Right.
He was just 35. He was 35. He was young, and he had been working there for 12 years. Okay, so he'd been working there since he was 23. This was a job he planned on retiring at. And what was sadder to me is that she went and she advocated to get these benefits extended. Republicans voted for this bill too. It passed. And now those same Republicans are here in the Senate denying that January 6th happened the way that we all saw it happen.
We saw it with our own eyes.
This isn't 1965 where people heard about a riot in Detroit, or Watts, whatever, and had to wait to see the footage of it, right? After the fact. We saw this happen as it was happening. As it was happening. From the start to the finish. As it was happening.
I always ask you, like on major things, where were you when? I will never forget that day. I literally was sick to my stomach and was just in tears. Never do I want to see my country go through that ever again. And the fact that you are making such a light note of this is quite frightening, because it talks to me, it shows the enemy within. And I know that Vice President Harris was speaking about how Trump talks about the enemy within, but it's them.
They are the enemy within.
They're talking about themselves. And this is a very frightening thing for our country.
Yeah. Well, Taylor Swift has a song where she says, "Me, I'm the problem. The problem is me." You are the problem. The enemy within Donald Trump, you are the problem. And, like you said, I remember where I was my daughter and I were sitting watching MSNBC because we were watching something else and they cut away from it to go to this thing, because we had been watching some of the they were covering something about COVID, and they cut away to this, and we just sat there and watched the whole thing for hours. It was hours, okay? And we were watching this, and I'm going to Twitter to see what people are saying. Everybody saw this. So anyone pretending, put it this way, the only people who thought it was a day of love were the people who were there, were rioting. But guess what? A lot of those who got arrested, they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe, he lied to us. Oh, you're just finding out.
You're just
And guess
finding out.
what?
Just every last one
Wait,
of them begged Trump to let them off. Let them
Yep.
off.
And he said, yeah, whatever. Because guess what? You know why? Because guess what? You know why he forgot about you? You can't vote. You're a felon. You're a
But you
felon.
don't matter. You first of all, you never matter. Just give me your money. That's
Yeah.
it.
And here's the thing. Two things can't be true at the same time. That this man's a billionaire and he can be begging you for money. Because best believe if Kamala Harris was a billionaire and she was begging for money the way that her campaign does, put it this way, this is how I feel. Her campaign's made $1 billion. I don't need to donate anymore. She's raised $1 billion in 3 months. I don't need to donate anymore. And guess what? I don't feel bad about it. But this man, supposedly, Elon Musk just gave him $6 million. That's how cash poor his campaign is. But if he's so wealthy, why doesn't he put some of his own money into it? Because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have any, and he doesn't have to, because he knows that there is a man in Wyoming sitting at home in his recliner with his gun, listening to Fox News 24/7 when he's not collecting his Social Security check, and has $23 in the bank and is willing to give Trump 20.
Everything.
He knows this, and he depends on those people. Not only that, but that man's watching TV.
Going down in what's that state, Aisha? I can't think of the state where they wrote up how you have to have the Bible in a certain, because they have to now have it in schools.
Oklahoma made it. The superintendent made a law that every school, every classroom has to have a Bible, and there are specifics. The Bible must contain the words to that song, "Proud to be an American," must contain the Constitution. What Bible do we know that sells for $59.95?
The only one
that has that. Not only that, but that is what he put out as a requirement for a governmental contract. So basically, Trump. Look how corrupt this would be. If Trump won, he would still be profiting off of the state of Oklahoma personally, because his Bible, they would contract him in his Bibles. He's going to still win, even if he loses, because they're basically saying, guess what? We're requiring the Trump Bible.
Exactly. And because no other Bible has that.
Right. We're requiring the Trump Bible. But here's the other thing, even beyond that, you have people who, like I said, get their Social Security check, their little Social Security check that is not enough to live on, but like James Evans said, God rest his soul, it's just enough to die on.
Yeah.
And they're gonna shell out $100,000 watch. What? A Coach watch doesn't even cost that much.
No.
And I know, because I tried to buy one. Or at least I looked at it.
Let me just catch up on
Coach purse doesn't cost that much.
So Dr. Tachi says the bigger pictures is his supporters don't care. Free
Mhm.
Will says because of this lady who tells us it's a sad story. Regina says they demonstrate all the characteristics of a cult. Regina also
They
said
definitely are.
crying emojis for the lady that lost her husband.
Yeah.
Minnie on Cam says that's what narcissists do. People did not matter to them, I guess. Real Django,
Yeah.
haven't seen you in a minute. Hope you are doing fine. And
Yeah.
gives a thumbs up. Good to hear. Free Will says, love these conversations. Real
Yeah.
Django says, ditto Free Will. Absolutely. And Free
Well,
Will,
here's the
I've
thing.
always liked the Rolex. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Trump and Jim Jones, the cult leader, not the rapper. Trump and Jim Jones, there are like two parallel personalities.
Mhm.
If you in Jonestown, like stirs up something in me every time there's a documentary about it. I watch it because there is also this part where he duped the majority of people he duped were black,
Yes.
and the fact that these people died the way that they did, and they followed him, they believed him, and they left the country. They left the country. They sold
left.
all their stuff and gave this man all their money because he sold them the one thing that they knew they couldn't get in America: a place free of racism. He sold them the thing that they wanted the most. When you tell people who've lived, and remember, this was in 1978, so all these people have lived under Jim Crow. And you tell them they can go to a place where Jim Crow does not exist. What person would want that? Black person would want that at that time. Donald Trump is selling his people the opposite. He's telling them, imagine a country where we bring Jim Crow back, where we bring segregation back, where you don't have to look at those people, where I'll get rid of those people and make
Right.
this a white nation, a white Christian nation. And you realize that the question is not who wouldn't want that, who wants that? And you have to look at the people who do want it. And these are people who, when you go and you look at the rest of their lives, are like Trump, refuse to be accountable for things that they didn't do in their lives, that they need to blame someone. Here's the thing. You got white men who are complaining, you got some who didn't go to college complaining about the student loan forgiveness. Well, guess what? It's not taking money out of your pocket. Let's be very clear. All they literally have to do is say, you don't owe us money.
Right.
Period. They're not giving checks. Okay. If I get my student loan forgiveness, they're not going to give me a check. They're just going to say, yeah, you paid enough, period. Because it's been 30 years since I started college. Okay. It's been more than that. So you paid enough. You're done. That's all they're going to do. It's not like people that have student loans that are getting forgiven haven't been paying. Okay.
Mhm.
What they've been paying is the money that comes with the loans constantly being sold, the other
Yes.
places and having to start over again.
Over and over and over.
Because that
They're
was
sold all the time. All
and
the
that's what
time.
that a lot of that is due in large part to the fall of Sallie Mae and Freddie Mac. When they started selling them, then all these companies started, every time you get close to paying off, they sell your loan and then you start right back up. So for someone to say, guess what? You're done. You paid more than enough of your stuff back over the amount. Your problem isn't that. Your problem is that you chose not to go to college. Because here's the thing, we were told that we knew this. There weren't ways for us to really get ahead unless we went beyond high school. Because at the time, all the good jobs, all the good paying jobs in the 90s, you couldn't get them with just a high school diploma. You couldn't. I know this. Here, the only major jobs that you could get were in retail, customer service, and at that time, minimum wage in 1992 when I graduated was $4.75. And I know that because I had a part-time job making minimum wage. So you made that choice. And here's the thing of it. You can't get mad that someone else made another choice. And that's their problem. And Trump seizes on the anger that they're mad that someone else made a choice that they didn't and is doing better than they are because they think that person isn't worthy. They think that I should be doing better than that Black person, that Hispanic person, that Asian person because I'm white.
Yeah.
Let's catch up with one or two compliments. Real Django says, thank you for another great information show. Absolutely. That's what these ladies do. Minnie on Cam says collection debt sells it off every 6 to 12 months.
Yep. And so this story really is to remind you that the people who were the rioters of January 6th are those very same people who are mad at the student loan forgiveness program that Biden tried to do. They had to stop and suspend, right?
Mhm.
Because they made a different choice. And rather than being accountable to themselves for their choices or just doing something different, because guess what? You can always change course in life. You can always change course in life. Because they decided not to do any of that. They need somebody to blame. And Trump's like, blame those people. Elect me and blame those people. I'll make those people pay for the fact that you made a choice and don't want to be held accountable. Because guess what? I made choices and I don't want to be held accountable either. I'm just like you.
Fear. It's all based on fear.
Mm-hmm.
And hate.
Fear sells.
Because
Fear
here's
sells.
where they connect. It doesn't matter what he says about anything because their basic connection is hate. You hate who we hate. So therefore, we are going to stick with this hate plan. It doesn't matter what he says or what he does. They're willing to give up absolutely everything based on hate and fear that someone is taking something from them or getting a leg up on them when they think they deserve. But did you work for this?
Right.
No, I deserve because I am this. That's what it's all based on.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, the January 6th officers get some kind of justice somewhere. I hope that this that more people like this man who contributed to this officer's death. I hope that more of them are held accountable. It was a tragic day, and we need to stop acting like it was a quote unquote day of love.
They acting like this is that was some action-packed movie.
Trump said it was a day of love.
Yeah, I mean, what?
You know what kind of love it was? Look, there was as much love at that riot as there are at Diddy's freak-offs.
There you go.
All right, let's move to a next conversation topic. All about the campaign, flip your wig and get out the vote. And I'm just going to put a comment that aligns with that I got to catch up. Sylvia Paris, good to see you from the East, Nova Scotia in Canada, saying, I think the Bible would catch fire in his hands. Seriously, how can we encourage the folks out to vote? So that's why I held off your comment, Sylvia, until this subject came up. So ladies, Aisha, talk about the flip out your wig and get out to vote. And I know LaLa, you're very passionate on people getting out and voting. So go ahead.
Yes. Wig Maniac, who is one of our loyal viewers, does this campaign every election cycle. She does it not just every 4 years. She does it, those midterms as well. And this particular campaign, she encourages people to do videos flipping their wig, flipping it, to show that they're gonna get out, they're gonna vote, they're gonna get out and vote. And I couldn't participate this time. Jill Jones has done it before, but I told her that
but now I don't have a week.
Me either. Look, it's Halloween time. You should be able to get one, right? But do you know how expensive they are right now? My daughter went to go buy a pink one for her. Her and her friend are doing this group costume, and she was like, "Mommy, it was like $60." I'm like,
"It'll stay
there." Exactly. I'm like, "It'll stay $60." Right? So I told her we could do this because the people are always asking, how do they spread the word? And so basically you can send videos in and she will show them and air them. And it's a way to get the word out to different people, different constituencies. You can send them to sjason212@gmail.com, and she will post them. And I mean, she's been doing this basically since the election started. And so please email your videos again to sjason212@gmail.com, and she will post them. And just show people that show people that you're gonna vote and that they need to vote. And like she said in her post about it's crunch time.
Well, and just before Lala jumps in, Wigmina goes, hey, and says also, I did it for the 2022 midterms, and Jill did one, our good friend Jill Jones, and says Jill will be doing another one soon.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so what's the biggest platform I have to really promote this? And I told her, I said, I couldn't afford to buy a wig, but what we can do is promote it on the show.
Yes.
So Lala, then
and we always appreciate when our audience does things, and we like to take time to promote them all because we appreciate you all too.
100%. And Lala, again, I know how passionate you are about people getting out and voting. So before we move to our next conversation, because I'd like you to reinforce that.
And I do want to enforce that because I think what people are getting away from is they feel like they've lost some kind of power with this vote because there's so much lies and rhetoric and groundwork for making it seem like this is going to be a cheating thing, that your vote is not really going to count, when it's the exact opposite. When people don't want you to see the truth, they spread as many lies as possible to cover that truth. So I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to vote. Even if you are out of state and you need to do your absentee vote, and even if you're out of country, you still have a right to vote if you are an American citizen. I can't stress enough that you need to also every week, no joke, because I've already voted, guys. I've already voted, and Georgia's already out there voting as well. So
Jimmy Carter voted. Yay. He made it.
His grandson said he was waiting. He was like, he
made it.
Like, he's got to get it in. But listen, there is a danger of you getting too comfortable. So what you need to do is make sure that you go every week. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really only a 5-minute process. Go and check to see if you are registered to vote, you're registered in the right place to vote, and to also make sure if you're mailing it in, to track your vote to make sure that it is going to be counted. Here is another thing I want you to understand. When you're dealing with states like Florida, who are already crooked in the first place. Okay, let's put that aside. But now you're dealing with all of the hurricanes and the devastation that has happened down in that state. Now is more critical than any time for you to make sure that you get to these polls or your vote gets clicked in and you know that it's been counted, because there's a lot of shenanigans that are going to be pulled in these states, and then they're going to blame, well, we couldn't do things because the hurricane came through. This is way beyond important, and this is not the time for you to play around. So don't, your vote is precious. You do whatever you need to do, but understand whatever you do with your ballot, it has serious consequences, and you need to make sure that you're responsible enough to know that your state has handled your vote correctly.
Well said. Well said. Free Will says, thank you, Dr. Vibe. I'm appreciated. I hope so. Real Django says early voting Monday or Tuesday, probably where you are. Wigmaniac says, make sure your wig looks like your own hair. No obvious wigs. I want it to look like a standard ad at first. Okay. Real Django says, gives check marks to Aisha and LaLa. And Free Will
Yep,
says,
I already got my plan to vote. November 3rd, early voting in Connecticut.
and Free Will says, thank you, Dr. Vibe. Appreciate for your time. So we have a happy story to end off our conversation today. 14-year-old black teen from Baltimore becomes the youngest freshman ever at his university.
And he chose an HBCU, Coppin State in Maryland. Baltimore. Yep.
Love it.
Look
And
at
I just thought it was so nice that we all needed a palate cleanser as things were getting this tight. And I just thought it was so great. He started reading at 3, and by 4 he was doing like calculus and stuff like that. He was a brilliant kid. He finished high school at 14. I started high school. Look, I started high school about to turn 14.
Yeah, exactly. That's the age where you start high school. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this for him. So, good job. And just, remember, this is what these kids like this and kids who are not like this, but the kids are why we vote. Let's leave the country in a better place for them than it was for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
There we go. I think that's a good way to end off our conversation today. Ladies, wow. Quincy Jones, you're back on the block. You're back on the block. Wonderful. Well done. Well done. Well done. All right. Before we let them go, and we do have to let them go, unfortunately, let's find out how we can get in touch with them. So here's a simple Simon.
Yeah, I'm pretty simple. I made it really easy. You can find all my social media content as well as my accounts and some freebies at this website. It's bit.ly/Laura Key Info. Thank
you. Next up, Aisha K.
That's how you can find me on Twitter. You can also follow me on Medium. I'm posting probably about 2 to 4 articles a week.
Wonderful. And again, kudos to you about your article about you turning 50. That was a really good piece.
Oh, thank you.
That was a really good piece. Thank you so much. All right. And myself, if you want to get a hold of me, that's your choice. But here's where you can get a hold of me. Website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at the drvibeshow. Excuse me there. X/Twitter at drvibeshow. Email dr@thedrvibeshow.com. You can also watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show at the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. Let's see, got some final comments here. Let's see what we got. All right. Well, Regina says, well done. All get out the vote. Real Django, clap emojis. And Sylvia Paris says, thank you very much. Good support. Thank you. And Real Django again gives clap emojis. So I'm telling everybody from now, mark your calendars on November 5th. Do you know what's happening on November 5th? There's a little bit of an election happening in America. Free Will says, until we meet again, no problem. And we had a watch party for the American presidential debate. We had a watch party for the American vice presidential debate. So the trifecta is we're going to have a watch party the night of the election. So mark it in your calendars from now. Actually, the next time we do a show, I'll start promoting it from then. So mark it down from now. All right? You'll be better off. All right. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember, also, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. God bless. Peace you all. Keep the faith. Oh, last comment here. Shirley says, great show as always. Free Will says, calendar marked. That's what I like. Excuse me. Proactive. It's already marked. Fantastic. And Real Jangle says, good night, everybody. Fantastic. All right. That's it. That's all. See you next week.